Hello, I'm Dr. Margaret, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about bullying. It's been in the news a lot lately, and there's a lot of children who are bossing people. But it also happens while we are at work, or it happens in family circumstances where one member of whoever it is in the circumstances wherever you are decides to make an issue about something, and the next thing you know, you're being attacked. And whether it's verbally attacked or whether it's physically attacked, it hurts. And whether you're someone who attacks others in response or whether you run away and hide depends much on the character and personality that you have developed over time. When I think back about myself, when I was very young, I was just totally bossed around by my teachers. They seemed to pick on me because some kid in the room was talking. I was busy daydreaming, actually, usually not involved, and they'd see me and say, "Margaret, stop talking," to do 100 lines or something, and I'd open my mouth to say, "What, but, huh?" And okay, you're answering back another 200 lines. And I would go home and cry because it wasn't me that was talking in class. Sometimes kids used to yank my braids, or plaits as they say in England, and of course I would turn around and say, "Don't do that." And yet again I would be chastised for telling someone to not do that to me. The person who pulled my hair got away with it. Back in those days it wasn't easy being in school because discipline was important, and everyone was disciplined by the teachers. And discipline could even be having your knuckles hit with a ruler. Yeah, I'm that old. But today it seems that the children in school are not told off or really chastised. They get sent home for the parents to deal with because the teachers are afraid to say anything too loud or too sharply because a child could say, "You are mentally and emotionally abusing me." And then they run home and say, "My teacher shouted at me and my teacher gave me punishment. I got to stay behind." And mother says, "Well, what were you doing?" "Well, it wasn't fair. Something happened." And then the next thing you know, the parents are protecting their child. From what? From discipline? From organization? Are they saying, when I was small, I was chastised by teachers, I'm not having that happen to my child? Or are they saying, I was remembering when I was bullied, I'm not having that happen to my child? I'm not against teachers, I'm not against parents, I'm not against anybody. What I'm saying is, I think that the idea of bullying is real enough, and there are really some very bad things that happen. But there's also the other side of the coin where people are saying that they're bullied when they're not. It's all about perception. I actually did a show recently on my show, Web Talk Radio. So, let me give you, first of all, the link, I think, get myself in order here. Web Talk Radio /shows/journey into an unknown world /. You can go there and you can see my website page, and you can click on bullying and you can hear what I had to say. And there I was talking about how suffering occurs for people who are bullied. And this time in the video, I'm talking about imagination, I'm talking about exaggeration, I'm talking about situations that are blown out of proportion. For example, with my own children, years ago, one of my boys came home and said that he was being bullied by the teacher. when I went to investigate, the teacher was a very nice person who was very soft and tender at heart, and she told me that my son was bullying other. I got my words muddled again. I must be getting tired. My son was bullying other kids. When I talked to him, I said, well, what were you doing? He said, I was defending myself. I said to him, well, what were they saying to you? He said, they were telling me that I was stupid. I said at that point, why did they say you were stupid? He said, because I couldn't spell a word. At that point, I recognized that his dyslexia was the issue, and that the other kids who could spell easily had taken advantage of that, pressed my son's emotional button, got him angry, and at that point he retaliated with some nasty things and actually got into a fist fight. That made me stop and think, how many times does bullying happen because of button pushers? So back in those days, you know, I was a young married mother with kids. I had to stop and ask myself, what was I teaching my children that was setting them up to feel they had to fight? What was going on at home that was causing them to look at us and see what we were saying or doing as adults in the family environment? Well, I had to admit, I was not in a functional situation at that time. My marriage was not doing very well, and there was a lot of yelling going on. From my point of view, I was protecting myself and protecting my kids. But what I didn't realize was that my kids were learning from me how to protect themselves. And the basic message was, shout back. And of course, what happens? Nobody wants to listen to someone who's shouting. We all end up feeling miserable and crying, and the next thing we know, others see a weakness and start climbing on, saying, well, you're not this, and you never were, and you can't be, and so on. And up comes anger, and the yelling starts even worse, and arguments go on and on. So I'm really making this video to say to you, are you a part of what causes bullying to happen in the first place? And are you a part of it that happens to you personally? Or are you a part of it because you learned it from your parents? I know that when I was in school, my maiden name was Pogson, P-O-G-S-O-N, and all the girls in school decided to call me Pigson, son of pig, which corrupted to Piggy. Did I like it? No. I was very upset. After all, my name is Margaret, and it wasn't corrupted. The more I tried to tell these girls in school, don't call me Pigson or Piggy, the more they laughed and jeered at me, the more I cried. So I went home, and I told my father, and he looked at me and said, ah, so it's happened to you too. And I looked at him with big eyes and said, you mean it, they called you that? And of course he said yes. Well, as I went back to school, I thought, well, if my dad could stand up to it, I could. So I just turned around and I said to everyone who called me Piggy, okay, so I give up, you can call me what you like. I just ignored it. I didn't respond, didn't fight, didn't do anything. And one bright person said, you know, why don't we call you Poggy? From Pogson, Pigson, Piggy. Okay, that's the way their mind works. So I said, all right. I let it go. So over the years, in that school, I was called Poggy. Well, I left school, of course, got married, changed my name, and that name Poggy disappeared for years. Until suddenly one day I met one of my old school friends, and she saw me and she went, oh, Poggy! It seemed so strange. I didn't have any negative association with it. I wasn't feeling that I was threatened in any way. So my point of that story is to say, if we can bite the bullet, as it were, in the beginning and say it's just a phase that these kids are going through, or it's just something that's going on with this person that I work with, and that tomorrow is another day. And in tomorrow, if I stay cool, calm and collected, they'll see me differently and they'll respond to me differently. Back to me as Poggy in school. By the time I was 16, I was one of the most loved in the school for who I was and how I shared myself, and for the models of ways of being that I set up. And I found out via my mother years and years later that many of my teachers had fond memories of me. So for all of that suffering, I got through it. It made me what I am today. And even now, if I have someone who stands and bullies me, I just look at them, smile sweetly and say things like, "I love you when you're angry." What can they say? They can't say any more, okay? Well, I've never been in a situation where I have been threatened with a knife or a gun, but I have been beaten, and I know what that's like. And I say to you, yes, in circumstances where you need to defend yourself, it is important. But stop and ask yourself, does defending yourself call for violence? When you might be able to say 2 or 3 simple words that turn everything around, like "I love you today." That you could, in your own way, step into your psyche, as it were, and say, what's really going on with this person? You know, a lot of bullies have a lot of fear, and that fear runs away with them, and they do anything they can to try and be in control of a situation. If you don't want to be in their situation, walk away. That's my advice. So bullying is a state of mind. I spent a lot of time talking on my show about it. There's a lot of details, a lot of interesting factors about narcissism. Yes, that's a big word. Sometimes I can't get my tongue around it. But you know, it all begins with training, and it all begins with building the confidence and self-well-being and personality. So if you're a parent, spend time with your child, helping them feel good about themselves. You know, my son is dyslexic. He found a lot of talents besides being able to do math and English. And through the years has gone on to do many things that are very important to him. It's very important that we support and encourage our children to know there is a future, and that life goes on beyond this moment of bullying, and that ultimately, as a result of standing strong, firm, and relative to self, making decisions that will move you away from bullying, you can in fact achieve a very pleasant life. So on that thought, I'll leave you to think about this, and hopefully you'll go to my radio show, which is on Web Talk Radio. Look for the link below this video and go listen. In fact, you might want to listen to all my shows, so you can download them as a podcast and enjoy me wherever you want to. Do that and have fun. I hope you'll spread the word and share this video with as many people as you feel would be helped by it. Thank you. Bye.